Did like fucking
The breaking news, stay at home. That is the order tonight from 4 state governors as the coronavirus pandemic spreads. New York, California, Illinois, and Connecticut all ordering non-essential employees to stay home. Those orders cover 75 million people across the United States.
In novel writing, or at least among people who tell you how to write novels, there's something called an inciting incident, a call to action. It's a development that pulls the protagonist out of their routine and sets them off on some grand adventure. But what happens when the inciting incident is just the opposite? What happens when we're called to inaction? I suspect a lot of novels will be exploring that idea in the years ahead, and most of them will be kind of a bummer. This is where my grand adventure happened. This shitty couch, this old TV, a 5-pound Yorkie, these were my traveling companions. And unlike some people who didn't even have the decency to fall apart during a year of anxiety and isolation,
I just kind of like stretch the skin.
I did not respond well. Which has been kind of surprising to me because, also unlike a lot of other people, I've been here before. See, about 12 years ago, after undergoing my 4th major operation of my teens and 20s, I ended up addicted to painkillers. And when you're an addict, particularly an opiate addict, you're used to seeing the world shrink down to the size of a room. You lose or give up on friends, family, relationships. It's just you, your drug, a preferred distraction or two, and if you're lucky and not too far gone, maybe a job to go to. But every day, it's the room. This is where you use, this is where you sweat through withdrawals, this is where you impassively watch years fall off the calendar of your life. When you quit, if you quit, that part of you doesn't magically just disappear. You have to work every single day to rebuild yourself, to rejoin the world in some way, to get out of this room, figuratively and literally. And it's not easy.
That's a job for incremental lifestyle changes sustained over time.
And that is just what I was doing. After quitting, recovering, and ultimately moving to Philly about 3.5 years ago. I was going back out in the world again. I was reconnecting with friends, making new ones, dating. I even started seeing a therapist. I had about 6 good sessions with him, and then...
The breaking news, stay at home.
And just like that, I was back on the couch. Instead of the drugs, it was drinking this time, and instead of needing to come up with a million excuses why I wasn't going anywhere or doing anything, now I didn't have to explain shit to anybody. So all of that might explain why I was working on my first video at the end of April, and I'm now working on my second video in mid-September. It's been rough. I was making some progress. I had some forward momentum going with the first video, and then I had surgery, which again gave me a really good excuse to sit down on the couch for about a month. But to my credit, I did get back up and I did try and finish that first project. And I learned very quickly that I didn't even have the barest minimum necessities required to be even a shitty video creator. I learned the hard way that you can't edit 4K video with a 9-year-old Acer laptop and 8 gigs of RAM, who knew? So I had to get a new one, When I left my old podcast job, I had to turn in my microphone, which meant to do any voiceover. I had to go get a new one, which meant a long, arduous trip to my favorite city on earth, New York, to go to a place called B&H Video to get a new one. I will say that B&H Photo is probably the one reason that it's worth going to New York City, aside from maybe visiting your brother in Queens. So then I came back home and realized I needed new software, I needed basic education, and on and on and on and on, until finally when I was able to finish the video and I was able to click that upload button, I felt so exhausted and so accomplished that I used both as an excuse to fall back down on the couch for an entire summer. Up. Okay. So that brings us pretty much up to date, which brings us back to the numbers. Our call to action from within. The objective is simple. See how many good days I can stack together and how far I can go in a little bit over 3 months. If I can go a full day moving in the right direction, if I can keep the TV off, if I can stay away from the booze, if I can go to the gym, if I can do something creative and productive, the next morning I get to rip down a number. If I screw around, if I end up on the couch, if I lose another day like I have been losing days, then the number stays on. If at any point during the 100 days I miss 5 days, I'm not able to take a number down for 5 days here or there or in a row, we give up the ghost. And we admit that maybe this is bigger than me, it's bigger than literary analogies. See, because the truth, if you haven't guessed yet, is that I've done this before. The last version of Keith who tried made it to day 85. I have to believe that this time is going to be different. And if I'm being honest, I kind of do. Because I have something that last version of Keith didn't. I've failed more than he has. So, in the words of the great Zay Frank,
warts and all, let's start this shit up.